Hello everybody and welcome back to a very special episode because today we're talking about Minecraft 1.11, which was just released yesterday, and I thought I would make just like a quick video on everything that they talked about, all the features and stuff like that. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we have is cursed enchantments, which basically means that some stuff that you can find in chests like loot will have a cursed enchantments, and there's two of them. There's Curse of Vanishing, which basically means if you have it on any sort of like armor or a sword or something and you die, that means that you're gonna lose it. It's not gonna pop up when like all the stuff explodes when you die. And the second thing is Curse of Binding, which can only be used on armor, which basically means that if it's on a helmet or chestplate or something and you put it on, you cannot take it off. You have to die to actually lose that item. So that's pretty cool. And it was actually kind of like introduced as like a secret feature in the April Fool's Day update this year. So for like the people that kind of knew about it, then yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's kind of good for map makers as well. And the next thing is the observer block, which is a official bud block or like a bud powered thing, which kind of already exists in Redstone, but since it's kind of like well, it's like a bug almost. It's not intended to be there. What they did is to actually make a block update detector that actually works. So it could, for example, be if a melon grows and it's right next to the bud block, then it's gonna put out a redstone signal. So it's kind of just like a more reliable way to get that, which is pretty cool. And then we have portals on like the end islands, which would basically mean it's not like the standard portals which you get when you go to one of the, I think, 24 portals or something, but it would be a portal that you can use, which would be randomly on some islands, and if you use the ender pearl to go through it, then you will end up back on like the center island, which is pretty cool and it's pretty useful because if you've ever been running around the end trying to find the elytras, that is really difficult when you go like 4,000 blocks out and then you have to run all the way back. So that's pretty cool. And for the next thing here is the Shulker will now drop an item called a Shulker shell. And this can be used in something which is pretty cool, which you're gonna see right here. But that is something called a Shulker box. And so the recipe here is you make a chest as normal, and then you put the chest in the middle, and then you put the shulker shell on top and bottom, and then you get a shulker box. And what this is it is essentially a backpack. So you can open it, and then you can put stuff in it, and then you can break it, and it will keep all the stuff in it, which is really cool. And then when you place it down again, it has all your stuff, which is really cool. And I'm pretty sure you can have multiple as well, so it can be really useful for moving a lot of items fast. And it also keeps the items in when it's braked by a piston. It can also be used by a dropper, I think. And then it can also be dispensed out, like some other things which can be dispensed out, which is really cool. And I can see that'd be pretty cool and pretty useful. You can make like a storage system out of it. And for the next thing we have here is a new villager called the Cartographer, which essentially sells maps. And there will be two kinds of maps. There will be the ocean map, which leads to an ocean monument, and then there will also be the woodland map. And then we have a new command here, which could be pretty useful for like map makers or anything, or if you just in creative mode and you're trying to find something. You can use /locate, and it will essentially find a nether fortress for you. And it also works in the end cities, which is pretty, or like in the end, so you can find the end cities, which is really cool. And then for like the big thing here, it's something called a woodland mansion, which is gonna be fairly rare. So it's probably gonna be as rare as the ocean monument. But essentially, what you can do if you buy the map, the woodland map from the cartographer, and you can use that to find these like big structures. And inside these big structures, there are gonna be 3 new mobs called the Evoker, the Windicator, and the Vex, which is really cool. And essentially, what this is, they're called illagers, which is like villager rejects. Like this, the dudes that look like the villagers, and essentially they're just gonna be there, and it's gonna be pretty hard to kill them. It's gonna be not as hard as killing Wither or anything like that, but it's gonna be pretty hard and something like kind of like a late game thing. And they've been moving on to something which I think is really cool, and that is called the Totem of Undying, which essentially saves you from death. So if you were to jump off something really high, then you would be fine, but you would lose all your hearts down, and then you would be restored. You would get 4 hearts of absorptions immediately just for that little while when you're like landing on something, for example. And then you also get some regen. I'm not sure, I think it's 4 hearts, but I'm not entirely sure. But that would be really useful, especially in a UHC. And then for the last thing, which is probably the biggest one, is there's gonna be a new mob called the Llama. And they had a Twitter poll about it. Jeb had it a couple months ago where he asked people if they wanted to have a llama or an alpaca. And it was not that much, but people wanted to have a llama, so he introduced that. And essentially they're kind of like donkeys. You can put a saddle on them, or sort of a saddle. It's actually a carpet, and then they can ride them, and you can have them as storage as well, which is pretty cool. And then they also spit and they scare away wolves, which apparently they do in real life as well. So that's really cool. But anyways guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I just wanted to give you a quick preview of everything that kind of happened on Minecon and all the news that they had. And yeah, if you want like a bigger explanation of everything, I'm gonna link it to Xisumavoid's video. It's really good. You should check that out if you want. And yeah, so I'm gonna see you in the next episode guys. Take care. Bye bye.